to another episode of Talkin' Tone. I'll be your host, Dave Pops Clements, and with me today, very special guest from right here in Las Vegas, from the studio at the Palms, engineer, producer, musician, Mr. Kevin Luu.
Wow. Thanks, Bob.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks so much for coming by,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
And, straight away, I want to say to everyone, thank Zoe Thrall.
Absolutely.
Down at the studio at the Palms for allowing you to come over and be part of our series.
Yes. She's the best.
She's so great, and this is a very special occasion because you'll be the youngest one on our series. And as you know, it's a talk and tone thing, right? And we've been trying to express how to get great guitar tones from real amps.
Real amps, yes.
And how to use real amps.
That's your specialty.
And that's one of my specialties.
Yes.
It is my specialty.
Right.
My only specialty.
No, amongst many others.
Anyways. And so we're trying to pass this knowledge on because it's a whole new world out there now, with the computers, and a lot of the young guys like yourself, know how to plug in and play a guitar and go, wow, that sounds great.
Right.
However, it may not be as great as us old guys with our real amplifiers.
Yeah, maybe not.
And so we're trying to get this whole thing across. And what's great about you is you've already been around some of the old guys.
I have.
Being down at the studio.
Been very blessed to be amongst great musicians and techs and guitar players, so it's great.
And it's a vice versa thing with the learning, because I can learn from you about, the new technology.
Sure.
Which we're going to touch on today. We're going to talk about some of the plugins and how we use it and all that kind of thing. And I really am trying to pull more knowledge from you than me at this point.
Okay, sure, no problem. We're all learning, right?
That's what we're doing.
Right.
And at some point we'll have you back over if you would be so kind to come over and share some knowledge. And we'll talk about some tones I'm doing.
Yeah.
And how I did it and what amps, and we're going to have some older amps on, and we may get some newer boutique stuff, but I'm trying to touch on a lot of the old stuff in the beginning of this series.
Yeah.
So could you tell us just a little bit, what's your background? How'd you get into the music business? I mean, how'd that all come about?
Yeah, well, I grew up out here in Las Vegas, surprisingly.
Yeah, well, you don't meet very many people from Vegas.
You don't.
I'm a transplant.
Exactly, and there's a lot of transplants in Vegas.
That's awesome.
But I actually grew up out here. I got into music actually at a very young, when I was 12 years old. I learned actually to play guitar at Becker Middle School through my guitar instructor, Bob Morris. And then I went to Performing Arts High School here in Las Vegas called Las Vegas Academy, where I studied with Bill Swick. And then I went to UNLV for a year, studied with Joe Lano. He's a phenomenal jazz guitarist. And then I went to Berklee College of Music when I was a guitar principal there.
Oh, really?
I got to study with some amazing guitar teachers there. Toma Fujita, Craig Halati, Mark White.
Wow.
And I majored in music production engineering and double majored in electronic production design.
Awesome.
That's a big, it's a mouthful, but I was a guitar principal there, so got to learn from a lot of great guitarists, guitar teachers and everything. So that's my background as far as how I started as a musician, guitarist first, and then dabbled, and then steered into the audio engineering, music production. But just like we spoke about a little earlier, it's like just music education growing up was so important to me and in my success in my career. Without having a great guitar teacher or a music program in my middle school and high school, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to find my true love and passion for music.
That's fantastic, even in high school.
Yeah,
and I know we were talking earlier about it's a shame that a lot of these high schools are dropping music programs. The elective programs actually are. It's unfortunate, they're starting to go away because of funding.
Exactly, basically. It's always a budget thing. It's sad that music has to be the first to go. Amongst, I'm sure other programs are programs and theaters and dance, but the music program, there's direct correlation between, success and how students learn and, if they're learned through music and everything. So it's so important to have these music programs in school. And, I'm just, example of how it was so beneficial to my life was to have these music programs.
What really blows me away is that even colleges, or even the high schools now have like Pro Tools.
Yeah,
the
that's
music
so
production
cool.
classes. I'm like going, Jesus, I didn't have Pro Tools when I was a kid.
Right, exactly.
I mean, we had gym and math and, you know.
Right. Wood shop, maybe. Yeah, it's like
wood shop.
Yeah, now it's like Pro Tools, music tech. Kids are making beats now.
Man, it's crazy.
It's really come a long way.
It's really crazy. And then you went on to Berkeley, did you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Graduated 2012.
That's crazy.
Phenomenal school, great experience. Met so many great people. Studied with so many great teachers. So
that's great.
Yeah. And then,
you know, I work with Talkin with Josh Groban.
Right.
He's musical director.
Right.
And he's a Berkeley grad.
Right.
And you know, those cats are all. He's the chart master.
I'm sure.
He is so. I just praise him all the time. You know, doing charts and they always go back to Berkeley when we're on tour. They'll go down to Berkeley and do a little special
like a little clinic or something.
And they'll say hi.
They love having the alumni out there, which is great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's like a family, like the Berkeley alumni. It's like a family.
So you know, down at the studio, you're doing a lot of sessions.
A lot of sessions, yeah.
What kind of sessions? I mean, you're getting all ranges. I mean, musical. Are you doing dialogue? You're doing commercials? You do all that kind of stuff?
It's crazy. So at the studio of the Palms, we get all kinds of clients. We get clients from Celine Dion to Elton John's to, you know, Busta Rhymes to the local rock bands. So it's stylistically it's all over the place, you know. And we have some little VO sessions here and there. I've been a part of a couple VO sessions for some movies, but very few. You know, we do mainly a lot of you know, a lot of it actually. It's funny to say at the studio at the Palms is a very, very beautiful, elaborate studio.
Yes, it is. It is.
You know, we have a knee VSP console, an SSL and everything.
All state-of-the-art, top-notch, everything.
Top-notch. And then, but a lot of the sessions we actually do there are a lot of vocal sessions. So a lot of people come in just to do a lot of vocal overdubs, whether it be a rapper or a singer. So a lot of the gear that we have there don't get utilized as much as we hope they would, you know.
Right.
Because of, you know, home studios and other stuff, the bigger studios are taking a little bit of a hit, and we're not getting as... You know, we still get some, you know, but just not as much as back in the day. I'm sure, you know, and, you know, Zoe knows, like, back in the day, you know, bands had to come into studios to track.
They had to.
They had to. There was no other choice to make a record.
You know, I mean, in the old days, you know, we had reel-to-reel tape recorders.
Right.
I mean, you did have, you know, Tascam 4 tracks and, you know, all that kind of, for home stuff.
For home stuff, right.
And you could do it. As a matter of fact, I have a client up in Seattle, and he still has all that gear
4-track,
up there. He's still got the old console and everything, and, you know, he's going, dude, I got all these things on tape, you know.
Right.
It's all done, right? We can't. I go, no, we can bring that into Pro Tools.
Right.
We can bounce that stuff.
Exactly.
You know, I got to tell you straight away, and I'll bet you didn't know this one, but I was fortunate enough. Zoe invited me to the grand opening of the studio.
Oh, the studio? No way.
That was awesome. Yeah, wow. Kevin Shirley was there.
No way. Yeah.
And I stood next to Robin Leach.
Oh,
he was there that night. Ricky Medlock, who I worked with Leonard Skinner, you know, and he was there, and just it was awesome, you know. And at the time, I was like blown away. It was so cool.
Yeah.
You know, just really a nice studio.
It's phenomenal. Yeah.
So in the music sessions, let's get into the tone thing. You guys, do you have some gear on hand? Do you have some amps there?
We do. We have a JCM 2000 head, which has a lot of knobs, which sometimes scares people. I mean, we've worked with some guitarists, even some producers, and they're like, man, like, there's a lot of knobs. You know what I mean? It's like, give me an 800, a JCM 800, or 900. Just keep it simple, right? So we do have a JCM 2000 head with a 4x12 cab, and then we also have a Fender twin amp, Fender Reverb Deluxe, and then we have a back line of guitars. You know, we do have like a Fender Strat, a Tele, a 335.
Your basic stuff.
Basic stuff. You know, back line
cool.
Clients need it. Of course, you know, most guitarists bring their own acts and stuff, and then if they need to rent our amp, they will. So we do have a little bit of gear that we can provide.
And you've gotten your hands on that stuff. You go out there and play around. And I mean,
for sure.
Do you actually engineer sessions? You're engineering sessions?
I'm engineering some sessions. Right now, my main job is an assistant engineer. And I'm assisting either engineers that come into our studio, or I'm assisting our engineers, whether that's, you know, Mark Everton Gray or Rob Katz or Jason Patterson. You know, so I'll assist them, but sometimes, you know, Zoe will throw me in. You know, it's like, put me in, coach. You know, she'll like let me engineer some sessions and stuff.
Awesome.
So yes, you know, just working
that's
my
how
way
you learn, man.
Exactly, working under people.
That's how you learn, you know. And so who does, like, do you get to go out there and when they go, okay, we're gonna we want to put this track up. They put the track up. Okay, we need this tone, or you just kind of go out there and start playing. What happens?
Sometimes it really depends. I mean, if the guitarist is not there, the musicians aren't there yet, and we just need a line check or something, I might grab a Strat from our shop. We call it the shop. And we'll plug it in. I'll just kind of play a little bit to get so the engineer will get the level. But a lot of the times, the musician will be there, and then they'll plug it in. They'll dial in their tone. We'll let them adjust everything. It's like, all right, is that the loudest you're gonna be? Is your volume pedal all the way up? And then we'll get our level and dial in our tone in the control room. So it really depends. Usually, it's more of the musician getting their tone, because my hands are gonna play things differently than such the musician. So it usually goes that way.
My forte has been tube amps forever, and I did a lot of sessions in Los Angeles, and a lot of musicians never even touch the amps.
Really?
I do the tones.
Wow.
I would sit right at the end of the desk.
Wow.
And they put up the track, and I go, okay. I go out in the room, I play the part, I come up with a tone, and then I come back and they go, yes or no.
Wow.
Or I'll listen to it, and they'll go, well, Pops, it's not quite this, and then I'll go, and this is another whole thing we've been talking about in my series, is mic placement.
Mic placement, yes.
I'll move around the mics, or we may change mics.
And you're a part of that process?
I did all of that.
That's so cool.
Skinner. Sometime when you see Ricky Medlock, ask him if he was ever allowed to touch his knobs when he worked with me.
Yeah.
First of all, when we did live stuff, Skinner never did sound checks, generally. We did the sound checks.
You did the sound
We had a crew band.
Wow,
crew band. We played the parts. We played Simple Man. We played Bits of Freebird.
Yeah.
We played Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, of course.
And that was it.
Wow.
And they showed up, and it better be right.
Right, exactly.
We did the tones.
Wow.
And even when we did, went into some of the session stuff, we did the tones. But I did so many records and, demo stuff in L.A. Ben Moody from Evanescence, we had a little production team at one point. Michael Herring, Fish, another buddy of mine.
Wow.
We all played, and they played, and I did tones. But a lot of the sessions, I sit right at the end and tune, right at the end of the console.
Right.
So in other words, the track plays, and they'll stop, or you can tell we'll all be sitting there, that don't sound right. And then sometimes I would even intonate per note.
Wow.
Like say, well, this doesn't work with this particular chord structure.
And change the tuning.
Oh yeah, I'll do intonation right on the spot.
Wow.
So it'll be in tune.
It's so crazy to hear that, because I feel like it's such a lost art now. At least where I come across is I think I may have only seen one or two guitar techs in all the sessions I've done at the Palms in the 3 years I've been there. Who we do work a lot with is Jeff Ochiltree, who's a phenomenal drum tech. I mean, he drum tech for like John Bonham and everything like back in the day. So he comes in a lot. He works very closely with us, and so we see him with the drum techs. But as far as guitar techs, a lot of the guitarists are doing it all now. So it's like, for you to tell me that you were so involved with the sessions back in the day.
That was me. It was all my stuff. They pretty much just play.
Yeah, and that's great, because the guitar player and the musician, you just focus on that, and then just
absolutely,
and then have you worry about the tone and the mic placement,
tuning, everything,
the intonation. Like, they can just focus on the music. Now it's like, not they can do it, but it's like they have to spread.
It's another thing they got to think about, and I actually got fired off several sessions for telling the producer that it wasn't the guitar's fault; it was the player's fault. Was the player's inability to play the chord structure correctly.
Right. And the producer wasn't happy about that?
Well, the producer's fine with it. The players are unhappy about that.
Oh, right.
There would be times where I tune the guitar and hand it to the player, and he'd play it with the track, and it's out of tune with the track. And no, tune again. Tuning, and they hold the guitar, you get it, pick it up, you tune again, hand it to them,
Yeah, his hands weren't right.
Man, Pop, something's not right. And I'll go,
the producer was,
let me see that guitar.
Right.
And I'll sit up and roll, play the part.
Sounds fine.
Wow. You hear that, right? Yeah. That's what's going on? I go, well, it's the player. And then, sometimes, I look at the player and go, let me see what you're doing. And they're pulling sharp or pushing or, one thing or sometimes the chord just doesn't work,
Sure.
They want to play a certain, intricate type chord. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. Right.
And so I'd say, well, why don't we drop the A note off or the B note or the C sharp or whatever.
Do a different voicing. Try something
exactly,
else. And they're like, that's all I know.
That works. And that's all a producer thing. But, when I'm in the room, instead of moving on or getting frustrated and I've seen a lot of sessions get snagged.
Right.
Because some part's out of tune.
Right.
And even in the old days, tape used to stretch.
Right.
And that's why we used to always stripe tape.
Right.
It was called stripe tape.
Sure.
And you'd put a tone up.
Yeah.
A test tone at the beginning of the tape.
Yeah, like
so
1K.
That's for a tape alignment.
Sure.
But I would put on a track A440.
Oh, interesting.
I would calibrate what I tuned the session to.
Oh, and then they could always reference that.
Absolutely. So when they come back and put the tape up, they play it, A440 comes up, and you can calibrate your tuner.
Right, okay, to that A440 that you started. Okay, See, we don't do that nowadays, to be honest.
I still do, actually. I do.
Right, that's great.
So if somebody has a reference.
We should be doing that.
Everyone should.
Taking notes. It's so funny that you talk about the player, and I talk about this with our engineers all the time, is that how appropriate we're talking about tone. Right. The tone, a good tone comes so much from the player, the musician. You can give a poor player the best guitar, the best amp, everything, right? And
it sucks.
It's only going to be as good as his playing abilities. It's going to, but you give the best player a Squier Strat and a little amp or plug right into it, and it's going to sing. You know what I mean? So the tone, I say majority of it, I don't know if I could put a percentage on it, but a good percentage of the tone comes from the player, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Stevie Ray Vaughan. Look at Hendrix.
Right. So it's like
the all-time Hendrix. And this is another whole thing I've watched and read so many articles about Jimi Hendrix's tone.
Yeah.
Oh, what did he use this and what did he do? Man, he used Marshall stacks wide open.
Right.
They were wide open, man. You know, he just knew how to control that guitar, And yes, he had certain things. He had a Strat, certain kind of Strat, and he had a few certain pedals, and his wah was a certain type of pedal, but those Marshalls were wide open.
Right.
And there's only one guy I ever saw do that. I was working for Lon Cohen Studio Rentals over in Los Angeles, and we used to rent, amps for sessions, and I did a lot of sessions through Lon, and we had a plethora of big producers over there, and he's got a lot of gear. One Friday afternoon, I was getting ready to go home, and I had a cat call in. He goes, man, I need to rent a 50 watt. I have a session. I'm filling in for Michael Landau. And I'm like going, I don't know who this guy is. It rings in. But if he's filling in for Landau, he must be pretty darn good.
Sure, right.
Michael Landau's a big session cat,
right.
And so I said, you know what? Why don't you come in and bring your amp? So he brings in, and I go, well, this is a 100 watt amp. Why do you want a 50? He goes, well, because I started tracking because it's not working with the 4 tubes. So I've pulled the 2 outsides, left the 2 inside for a 50 watt amp.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay. He goes, well, I said, if you want, I'll check it out to see what's wrong with it, or we can look at a couple amps. He goes, oh, let's look at a couple. So I had a couple already in there, a couple of Marshalls, and I had them set at, nominal. It's a little room like in here, and the guy's just going to check them out, And so he walks in, and he reaches over and he hits the volume wide open. And I'm like, whoa. And it's going, shh,
Right.
Whoa. And he goes,
calm down.
He goes, I know what I'm doing. I said, look, I give you about 4 seconds when you open that guitar up. Otherwise, I'm turning them back down.
Right.
I said, I've never seen anybody come in here and do this. I'm not opposed to it.
Right.
And he just went across the amp and dimed it like this. He just dimed everything. Volumes, pre-gain, tone, bass, treble, everything. Wide open. And this guy had a white Strat, and he was rolling the level on the guitars, and I got goosebumps. The guy, it blew me away. I go, this guy is badass.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Wow. Wide open, and the tone was just...
It was wide open, man. It sounded great, but he knew how to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just the kind of a thing you got to learn. But it's great to hear you, as a younger guy, so interested in, in the guitar tones.
Absolutely.
And tones in general, drums, everything.
Drums, bass,
really.
synths. I do a lot of electronic production, so I mean, there's so much. There's still something special about having analog synths instead of just playing like the MIDI controllers.
Right.
And there's so many great soft synths out there, and they have a time and place, but analog synths have just something special to it. Which is just the same conversation about your guitar amps and my amp simulators. So, I mean, are you hip with the amp simulator game?
You know, man, I talk a lot about fractal audio.
Okay, sure.
On this series so far, and I have been, and you know, really, I really should sit down with one. I saw a buddy of mine, Bobby Schneck, who's out with Aerosmith at the moment, and he's a great player himself. And I saw him programming one, and they must be using them to track on the bus and track in their hotel rooms. So it may be great for that. Look, I'm a tube amp guy.
Of course.
So I have just went, you know what? It may be great for somebody, but it's not for me.
Not for you. Okay.
I just really don't even want to. But I think I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
You know, when I get out, back on the road, you know, I've been off the road for about a year and a half now. But when I get back out and I want to start doing some tracking myself in the room, then maybe that might be the thing to have.
Right.
I mean, you just recently had some experience with a fractal.
Absolutely.
A big artist, it's a big tube amp artist, came in for a session, and you said he brought a tube amp, but he also brought a fractal.
Right. And there's a lot of reasons why clients would bring in like a fractal and, you know, combine it with a tube amp or just...
Which could be great.
Right. It's just, you know, they have options. You know what I mean?
Right,
sometimes options can be bad.
Sure. Yeah,
in the studio, it can be
great.
Or it could be great. You know? So, you know, sometimes the musician will plug into their fractal or, you know, and then split it into the amp, and we'll track both of them.
Right.
We'll take the direct out of the fractal, track it into Pro Tools, and then also have the mics from the amp, and they can, you know, blend it.
Yeah,
do whatever you need. Another great thing about the fractals is that just recall. You know, we get a lot of musicians that play these shows on the Strip, right? So then if they're playing on the Strip, they have all their presets for each song. And actually with the fractals, you can communicate with a laptop, and you can actually like drag and drop different pedals and different delays. You can tap out the delays, so it's very accurate, and everything is just all, you know, there, and it's recallable. So they're playing these shows on the Strip, and they have their tone. They come into the studio to record the studio version, right? And then they just plug in the fractal, hit the recall button, they got their tone. So it's just the convenience sake of that is very beneficial.
Convenience on the road, I can see.
Yes.
But you know, just to have it, I'm not so sure. I just got a call the other day for a big artist, and they're having some problems on the road. Man, can you come out here? And I said, I got one question, Strap. Is he using that fractal
Right, what's
stuff?
the setup?
It's just because I don't want that. You know, I'm just not hip to that. And you know, we were talking about combining. We were talking about the Line 6 stuff, and this is probably 10 years now. Oh, God, even more than 15 years now.
Right.
I worked with Weezer, right? And I did a couple of Weezer records. Matter of fact, I got a Weezer record, gold record up there.
Wow.
Maladroit I did. But I tracked with them on several. Me and Bobby Schneck used to go back and forth on a few. He did Green Record, and then I came in, did Maladroit, and we switched off. But when I first came there, we were doing festivals, I was telling you, with the Line 6 pod stuff. And the front of house guy wanted that, and then the band wanted amps when I came along.
Course.
You know, they heard what I had going on in the studio. Go, Pops, could we bring that out? I said, well, yeah. And then we got in a big argument. The front of house guy and I said, I'll give you both. So we blended them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the front of house guy took the Line 6, and we kept our tube amps on stage, and away we went.
Everybody's happy.
And it actually sounded great, because he had some tube amps coming off the stage, but he had his Line 6 stuff.
Right.
You know, and at the time, that was the thing. The pods were huge at that time.
That was the sound, right, for that time.
You know, apparently the fractals really, you know,
it seems to be
pretty hip.
It's pretty hip, and it seems to be appearing more and more in the studio, you know, and I just keep coming across it, and it's like, it seems to be the one that, not to throw a product placement out there like that, but I just see it very often.
It's endless, the combinations, and I'm sure it is with the plugins. And, you know, you were saying you use plugins.
I do. I use a lot of plugins. I mean, because even though I work at the studio of the Palms, I do a lot of my recording and production in my own bedroom, in my own home studio, like a lot of people,
everybody else,
everybody else in the world, right? So, you know, I don't have the access to all these amps and guitar tones and effects and pedals, right? I mean, just I'm working on a budget, right?
Exactly.
Just to be honest. So, you know, they're great. I mean, like, there are plugins.
This is why we're talking.
Exactly.
The young and the old.
The young and
I'm learning from you. You're learning from me.
Absolutely. So, you know, companies like Waves, you know, who make phenomenal audio plugins.
Absolutely.
They have, you know, the Waves amp. Native Instruments. They have Guitar Rig, and, you know, IK Multimedia. All these companies, those are the big ones. Of course, there's a lot of boutique, mom and pop plug-in companies that come out with amp emulation. There are so many great ones out there.
Friedman's got one now.
Do they?
Friedman.
No way. Yeah, so it's like there's just so many, and there's always more coming out. And then they have, you know, just you plug your guitar right into your interface,
and it's just there.
And then you can just go through the presets and find a tone. Of course, now is it going to give you the tone of a tube amp and the depth and the room and all? No, but it's going to help you kind of just at least get ideas down. It'll help you get faster, and then it's recallable. You just open up a session, the tone is there.
You can save it and come back in. It's speed and quick.
It's convenience is what it all is. Now, is it a better tone? That's debatable. You know what I mean? It's all on certain genres. If you're trying to make like a classic rock record, like something like Skinner or something, you may not get that kind of sound from the plugins.
Right.
But if you're just making like a pop, like a very modern pop, like top 40 kind of thing.
Great.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just want to do some strumming, some guitar strumming stuff, and just it's not going to be like the main thing and the element in the song. It's good enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So it just depends on the style and what the song.
Yeah, when you first got here today, I took you out, and and I'm new to all this mixing out of the box and all this.
Yeah.
Even though I have a console, I don't. It's a Midas F16. I talk about it on all the other series of the tracks I do.
Yeah.
I like this console because it's simple. And you can afford it.
Yeah.
But it's analog inputs.
Right.
I'm the old school analog inputs, right? So at least I'm doing analog into the desk and then via FireWire into the console. So I can get some tonality there.
Right.
So when you first came over today, I took you out to the car. So let's listen to it in the car, not even in here in the speakers.
The car test.
That's the car test. That's what everybody does.
Right.
And wow, yeah, that's cool. I said, yep, I did this track.
Right.
With an amp I bought on Craigslist.
For how much, you said?
$45.
$45 amp.
It's now, albeit it's not a tube, it's a solid state, but there's a reason why I got a Rickenbacker, a 1979 Rickenbacker TR7. They're kind of rare. They were made in California. They only made them for a couple of years. And the reviews online, if you can find one, are get it.
Right.
And I bought this thing, and it
$45.
It rages, man.
Yeah.
The track is just, it's crazy.
Will the track be on this video?
Well,
maybe not.
Maybe on the intro of this.
Okay.
Let's see. It'll probably be the intro for this. I'll put the beginning of that in.
Right.
If everyone will watch Volume 9, you can hear the track in its entirety, and I'll talk about how I did it.
Yeah.
And what guitar, and again, a $350 guitar, Epiphone Wildcat.
The Wildcat.
By Guitar Center.
Wow.
It's crazy, but again, I guess it's up, it's ease.
It's ease, and if I may give another scenario that we have come across working at the Palms is sometimes we get these younger bands, and they're not that experienced.
Exactly. Getting the tones. That's why you need guys like me.
That's why we need to hire guys like Pops, you know what I mean? So we need exactly, right. Go Pops.
Zoe always has me in the back of her head for something always. She's thinking, oh, Pops is there. And I'm a finicky old guy. I'm finicky about what I do and when I do it and how I do it.
Of course.
You've
earned that right. You know what I mean?
And now I become the hermit. I just come in this room and
you do what you love. Right. And that's great.
Play guitars and track. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds great. If I don't say so myself.
Exactly.
But again, back to the cost. We talk about microphones, and I'm sure you guys got some amazing mics down at the studio.
Oh, phenomenal! Yeah, we have a wide mic selection as far as we have some vintage tube mics like the AKG C12. We have the 251, CA100.
Do you have any ribbons? Do you have any of the RCA ribbons?
We don't have any RCAs, but we have the Coles 4038, phenomenal ribbon mics, and then we have our engineer Mark Everton Gray. He has a Royer 122. So the Royers are phenomenal.
The Royers are great guitar mics.
Guitar mics, notorious for guitars, amps, and everything. So we do have some.
So when you're doing the guitar amps, and Tim Pierce, he's
of course, one of the phenomenal session player.
I go way back with Tim. He was one of our clients at Lounge. I used to do his carriages and setups and sessions, and strung some guitars a few times for Tim. And Tim is the big 57 in a Royer. Right. Is that what you guys do? Or you?
A lot of times, yes. We'll put you know how they say the center of the cone is the brightest, right? Is that debatable? And in your opinion?
No. It's absolute, physics.
Yeah. So so
it's true.
Put a darker mic right in the middle to kind of balance it out. So we might put a ribbon right in the center cone, and then put a 57. A little off on the outside, on the edge of the cone, a little off axis or whatever. Of course, it's always these. Right?
I put them straight on.
Put them straight on.
I put a 57. Yeah. In most of my sessions now, because of the two mic technique, right? I like a condenser somewhere.
Okay, sure.
Right, and I have and this is all about money, right?
Of course.
I bought a Shure KSM 27.
Okay, great mic.
Right? I bought it off of Craigslist, $125.
Affordable, great mic.
Right? And I use that I back it off, right? And I use it as a room mic almost. But in my ISO booth out there, it's not very big. So, I can only put it so far back. But I use it as a, and really for kind of the high end kind of thing. But then I use a Shure SM7, which a lot of cats go, oh, SM7. Isn't that a broadcast mic? And I go, well, yeah, it's a great broadcast mic. Right. But also, Michael Jackson used it for vocals.
On Thriller. Yeah. Right. That's the claim to fame for that mic.
That's it. Right. And so, I got to tell you, man, it's a great compliment to a 57.
Absolutely.
So you use a SM7 and a 57. And I have an RE20 that sometimes I've used that on a couple of tracks as well. The RE20, it's not, not a lot of people use it for guitar. It's more of a kick drum type
or
thing.
A floor tom kind of thing,
and
or a bass cab, or a great broadcast mic.
But it's a great guitar mic, really.
Absolutely.
But the Royer and a 57 is really, if you can't afford, just a 57.
Yeah, and you want to hear something crazy that our engineer, Rob Katz, just did, assisted him on a session this past week. He did something very interesting. He took two 57s, right? So that's only going to cost you $200, right? He put one right on the edge of the cone. So that's going to be,
That's where I usually put mine. Right about this far in, an inch in, sometimes maybe two. Somewhere right in there, and I put them dead on.
Dead on, right. Yeah. So this one was exactly like you said, dead on the edge of the cone. He took another 57, put it a little off axis, right in the middle of the cone, and he called that the bite mic. Right. So, and then he just kind of combined the signal, and then, or he might have even panned on certain songs that we were doing, the bite mic to the left, and then the other 57 to the right. So, you know what I mean? You're getting, two mics, but they're placed differently, so you're getting a different tone. Very subtle, of course, but, you know what I mean? You can kind of combine what you need.
That's what I'm doing with mine.
Exactly.
And what I usually do, like this last track I did with the TR7, I used a SM7 and the KSM 27. Okay. But what I do is I track both of those center up. Okay. Right, dead center in the pan, and then I duplicate them. Okay, interesting. I'll do a duplicate track on each one, and then I'll pan those left and right to some degree. Sure. Okay. And that's kind of cool too.
That'll give you a different sound and everything. Are these the same exact tracks, or is it different
same track?
And as long as it sounds good. Hey, it sounds
Let's combine them, and even just 157, man.
Yeah, they're like $100. Go out, get a 57. You can use it as a vocal mic, a hammer, a guitar amp. They last forever. You know what I mean? That's right. So, and it's a snare drum, right? Infamous snare drum mic, right? It's just a 57, right? So it's great, and I love that you use the KSM 27 for like a room and stuff like that. Like we'll do that sometimes in our live room or in our little booth. We'll kind of stick a condenser mic if we have the budget, a tube mic, and then just to kind of get the depth of the room, and we might make the direct the mics from the direct amp to the left, and we might pan the room mic to the right to kind of create like this spread. Like that. And have you ever done like the miking of the back of the amp?
I have. Yeah. You can do so many things, and the dog was always a fan of a doghouse, obviously. Right. I love doing the doghouse. Once I did a session with Glenn Johns. Who was
no way, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I got to work with Glenn. Wow. And actually, we were in 3 or 4 different studios. It was for a soundtrack for a movie. And, of course, you work with Glenn, you don't say a whole lot. No, let him do his thing. Everything's kind of understood, and when he stops, and everybody just knows when he stops it, that whatever was not right, everybody knows that. I was working on the session with Ben Montench and Mike Campbell and, Pete Way and a lot of the big cats. Jimmy Keltner even came down. There was the real dudes, and these cats, they know. The producer don't have to say, hey, this, or this. They just know. And so Glenn, he came out, and I had three amps out there with John Hyatt. It was John I was guitar teching for, but I was kind of the tech for the session. Right. And Glenn Johns walked up, and I was playing, and he kind of looked at me, and he goes, "You've finally done something right, man," and walked away. And I was like, I wanted to just do cartwheels. Right, Glenn Johns just said my tone was great without saying anything. Right. It was like, my whole thing for my whole career. That's it right there.
Right.
If I ever did anything again, besides maybe a Pink Floyd tour or something.
Right.
I always said if I could do a Pink Floyd tour, I'd call it quits.
Right. That would be the pinnacle, right?
Well, yeah. There's some pretty good guitar tones coming out of there,
Yeah, for sure.
But anyways, we could go on and on and on. And I really would like to have you back again.
Love to do that.
If you would do that for us, that'd be great, because we want to get the young with the old.
Yes.
And I have a lot to learn from you, especially the
Likewise.
Pro Tools. Maybe we could do some Pro Tools stuff.
I would love to.
Do a little, how to do this, or how we should mix this, or
that'd be great.
Get your ideas on some things.
I'd love to.
But definitely on the tones, maybe we could track something even. I could have you over and you could man the controls.
Sure. Have you play and talk about
maybe we could get Pat to come over one
That'd
day
be
and
awesome.
play a little guitar for us, and we'll track and see what the three of us could come up with.
That'd be awesome.
And maybe I come down to the studio one day.
That'd be awesome
That
too.
might be cool
That'd
when
be
no
really
one's
cool.
around. You'll track some stuff.
That'd be really cool.
That might be awesome. But let's definitely do this again. We'll have you on some more of our series.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Pops, for having me.
All right, man.
Yeah.